Okay, so news of the day. And if you're looking for news on a player who's going to miss maybe a game or two, you know what? There are so many now. There are so many injuries, so many players returning from injury. It just becomes that's all the videos are. So I'm looking at guys who might miss games and going, okay, is it a major injury that could affect this team? Yes. Is it something that we don't know what's going on? If the answer is we don't know, then, and that's the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins thing. I haven't heard any updates of anything other than, yeah, he's not playing the next game. So, I don't know. Anyways, starting things off, we're going to talk about two players who can't play this season because the deadline was yesterday and it was missed. Honka and Puljujarvi. This does not mean that Jim Nill and Ken Holland say, well, we're not going to try to trade him. No. It just means they can't play in the National Hockey League this year. So if you're trading for them, they won't be playing on your roster. So the most likely time for them to get moved, they could get moved at the deadline, where one of these two players might be used to trade to a rebuilding or retooling team. Like, all right, Hawk is a decent enough depth defenseman. We'll trade him to you for a veteran defenseman we need for a run, and and so on and so on. So they could very well get traded. It's just now the odds of them getting traded anytime soon are limited. And the most likely time for them to go might be at the draft table. But again, Honka doesn't really have much in the way of trade value. If Dallas got back a depth player, I'd be happy with that. And for Puljujarvi, his value at least has, I think, gone up. That's always been the rumor. Although I would think if it's gone up a lot, that Holland would have pulled the trigger on a trade. So hopefully Puljujarvi has a good season at home and feels comfortable and is able to parlay that into being traded out of Edmonton. So that's where those two players are at. They are still the property of Dallas and Edmonton. They have no intention of returning to Dallas or Edmonton, and they will be back next season in all likelihood, unless this just drags on and on and on for these guys. Now, other news of the day, and this is kind of a surprise to me, is that Keith Kinkaid's been waived by Montreal. He hasn't played very well, and that being said, the most of the disdain that we've seen from the media in Montreal has been aimed at Carey Price. I think that might settle down a little bit after last night's performance. He was pretty good last night. And now Victor Mete is out with an ankle injury for 2 weeks. So, and I report that because, again, it feels like it's just heaping this stuff on. Mete's been maybe one of their best defensemen all year. Weber and Petrie notwithstanding. And so for Montreal, it just seems to continually get worse. Now, what they're doing with Kinkaid, according to Pierre LeBrun, is he likely goes down to the minors to get a few games in and get his confidence back, and then they'll bring him back. Sounds a lot like Louis Domingue in Tampa. I don't know. When Montreal picked up Kinkaid, I was kind of surprised by that because he didn't play well last year for New Jersey and found himself on his way to New Jersey. Keep in mind, at this time last year, he was at the very least seen as a 1A, 1B with Corey Schneider in New Jersey. Now they're both out of the National Hockey League. So I don't see anybody picking up Kinkaid on waivers. He doesn't get paid a ton of money by Montreal, but still, if you pick up Kinkaid, you would need to then waive somebody off your roster to make room for him, and he would need to be at least your number 2 goaltender. So unless Arizona picks him up, because they got rid of Comrie, so maybe they want somebody else to sit in the nosebleeds up there and just watch the game from above, I can't see Kinkaid being claimed. So hopefully things go well for him. With New Jersey, where Kinkaid played last year, Ray Shiro's come out and defended Taylor Hall. That he never asked to be traded. I never said he asked to be traded. I never reported he asked to be traded. However, he didn't deny that teams are starting to call and he's starting to listen on Taylor Hall. Here's the thing. You have Taylor Hall. He's an unrestricted free agent this summer. Now, you're close enough to the New York Islanders geographically and in terms of positioning when Tavares left there to know how that all worked out. Tavares even said all the right things. Oh, I'm going to stay. I'm going to stick around. It's going to be fine. And then he left. And if you're New Jersey, you don't want to get left in lurch. And especially, you don't want to lose the asset and not get anything back. Like, you can look at the New York Islanders right now and say, well, they're better than since Tavares left. And I would make that argument that they've been better since Tavares left. But imagine what they could have got for Tavares at the deadline that year. Yeah, they could have got probably multiple first-round draft picks. And I would think a player and a prospect as well. You could probably get 4 pieces for a John Tavares at the deadline. So if Ray Shero at the deadline goes, it's fine, with a team that's not going to make the playoffs in all likelihood, and Hall just walks as an unrestricted free agent on July 1st, that's a major, major mistake by Ray Shero. He would be foolish right now not to be picking up the phone when somebody calls him about Taylor Hall, and not to at least listen to what the deals are and have that negotiation. I don't know anybody. The funny thing is, this is being reported out like, people have been saying Hall wanted to be traded. I never read it. I haven't heard it on TSN or Sportsnet, so I don't know what news outlet was reporting it. But yeah, and if you ask to be traded and that comes out publicly, sometimes you're making it more difficult to get traded, because now a team knows that you need to make a deal, and they're like, all right, we were going to offer you 3 pieces, now we're going to offer you 2. So that's how things go with the NHL and negotiations and all that wonderful stuff. But Shero absolutely, I believe, will move Taylor Hall by the deadline. I would be very surprised if he's still a member of the Devils without agreeing to a contract extension beforehand. You sit him down, you go, all right, here's what we're willing to offer you. And if he says nope, then you make a move. So that's the Taylor Hall talk for today. I mentioned in September I figured this would become a dominant topic as the season went along, and here we are. 3 stars of the week this week were Nathan MacKinnon, David Riddick, and Martin Jones. Big congratulations to Martin Jones for being in the 3 stars of the week. He's been winning a lot of games, and his save percentage is getting better. And Riddick had a very good season for Calgary as well. So it's nice to see a couple of goaltenders get into the 3 stars, which will cause a bunch of people to get angry because their player had 8 points in 3 games this week, and he should have been in there. Kosh sang it, and yeah, McKinnon got 1st star. So things are going pretty well right now for McKinnon and for the Abs, and we'll see if everybody gets healthy, just how much better things get. And a good news item, which has been reported and was also brought to my attention by Adam. Thanks, Adam. Hershey had the teddy bear toss on Sunday, and 45,650 were tossed onto the ice, which is a brand new record. Last season, Hershey set the record with 34,798. For the purposes of trying to figure out how many that is, this number's ridiculous, and this is ridiculous in a quarter. It's a lot, and I'm very happy to see people do this kind of thing. Teddy bear tosses are pretty common around the league, and they're good. And I'm always happy when hockey has a good cause. And this is, when they talk about hockey culture, there are good things in the hockey culture too, and this is one of them. And there are many hockey players in general being very generous with their time and with their money. And I really enjoy covering this sport, partly for these kinds of stories. So yeah, Hershey's teddy bear toss, try to beat that, 45,000. I'm thinking that people brought more than one stuffed animal. I don't think there were 45,650 people in that building. I think its capacity would be 8,000, 9,000 probably. And if there were 45,000 in there, the fire marshal would shut it down. Zach Werenski is out 4 weeks with a shoulder injury. And again, this is one of those minimum maximum, if you're an optimist kind of person. Werenski being out is going to absolutely impact Columbus. That's the reason I'm reporting it. That is a huge, impactful loss. I like Werenski's game a lot, and he doesn't get a whole lot of press for it, but he's a very solid defenseman for them. Seth Jones is the number 1 guy there, but Werenski's been excellent this year. And for Columbus, a team that's currently on the outside looking in at a playoff spot, that makes it all the more difficult over the next month. So December, which can be a rough month as it is, gets a little bit rougher. If you're interested at all in the NHL All-Star Game, which I guess I might as well be, I don't know. They've tried to make the NHL All-Star Game entertaining over the last while with the 3-on-3, and I guess that works. I don't know. I don't remember who won last year. I don't remember who the MVP was last year. every year the NHL All-Star Game becomes less and less relevant to me. All-Star Game weekend is fun. I understand that for fans in that city it's great, but in general. So if you're interested in the voting, it started November 30th. I figured I would throw that into this video. I have no intention of voting. None. It's back when it was you could vote for anybody on any team. I voted a lot. And I enjoyed doing that because I was like, you know what? These guys are unsung heroes. I'll throw them some votes. Knowing they weren't going to get in there, but at least at the end of the day, it would be like, hey, these guys got votes. Maybe those players would check and they go, hey, I got actual votes for the All-Star Game. That's fun. But, you know, it's a popularity contest, so I expect the most popular kids to get in there. And they narrow it down so there can't really be bad selections. And then at the end of it, what drives me nuts with the All-Star situation is when you'll see every team has to be represented. So because every team has to be represented, there are certain players on a deep team that will be left out of the All-Star Game experience because they happen to play on a good team. So that's kind of rough. There is one thing I wanted to mention. Coming out of the Boston-Montreal game last night, there was something that was said about the Boston Bruins and signing Charlie Coyle and Chris Wagner. Both players said they could probably have gotten more on the free market than they got for playing in Boston. But that Brad Marchand said of the Boston Bruins, if you're a player and you just want to make your money, you want to maximize your money, you want to make every dollar, you're not going to do it here. This is a team. You have to buy into the team kind of thing, is what he's saying there. And that Coyle and Wagner get it. And they talked about how all of these Boston Bruin players, they've all bought into this team mentality of we will play for less. We will take less money to keep this team together and remain one of the better teams or best teams in the league. Which I thought was really interesting, and I meant to put it on the board and I didn't, so I'm mentioning it to you fine people now at the end of this video. For all and I've been thinking about doing a video on Marchand because as somebody who's a Boston fan, very often will be, I can't believe you like a team with Marchand. You must love Marchand. No. He really there's a Jekyll and Hyde aspect to his game, obviously. And I think it would be fascinating to do a video on that, and that may come up at some point this week. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, and I will be talking to you guys again very, very soon. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you for all your support. It means a ton. I will talk to you again soon.